Hello and welcome to the Kernow Kast. This is Make Cornwall Great Again with Matt Harris and Jameson Spargo, both previous guests on the podcast. This episode is all about the general election and the local elections that happened back in, bloody June or something. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm really sorry I've been off the airwaves for a while. I've had a lot of issues at home that I had to deal with, so I apologise for that. But we are back, and hopefully back better than ever. So without messing around too much, and this is quite a long one. This is going to be split up into two parts, and this is part one. Check it out. Okay, so we are live. This is the Kernow Kast. I am Lewis Pauling. To my right is Matt Harris.
Hello.
And to my left is Jameson Spargo.
Hello.
I think this is my first ever three-way.
Nice.
Yeah, with two men anyway.
We can't see Jameson very well.
Oh, hang on. Let me. Well, do people really want to see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, then fine.
I should just.
You're the main attraction.
Oh God. Well, Cornwall's gone down the shitter if that's the case.
Yes.
I blame Trump.
Trump's effect on Cornwall is massive.
And Brexit.
Hashtag make Cornwall great again. Anyway.
Okay, so we are here to discuss the most recent local and general elections. I will put out a few disclaimers. First of all, my son is upstairs. I'm the only parent in the house, so if he cries, I'm going to have to go upstairs and see him.
But it's fine. There are two more capable and respectable gentlemen.
Yes, to take care of the microphones while in my absence. Also, we are not experts by any stretch of the imagination on politics or anything of the sort.
We like to
Despite the
think
fact we've been claiming that we're a political podcast for the last 4 months.
Yeah, it's fine. We're just general people that just want to talk about it, so it's all good.
No, I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah. I did want to start, actually, by reading out your assessment of the Jameson's assessment.
Pre-election.
So the night before the election. I wanted to read that out. These are Jameson Spargo's words. I thought I would do an analysis over how each party has done over the election campaign and how I think they will fare in tomorrow's election. The Conservatives. If I must be brutally honest, I think this is the worst campaign I've ever seen them do. They had a relatively simple task and yet they seem to have done quite a reckless job of it. Theresa May has probably done one of the things she should have avoided, which was show her interest in bringing old school Tory values back into society. This after several speeches claiming she was going to the PM for the working class, then announcing fox hunting being reconsidered, the controversial dementia tax getting panned from all sides, getting rid of the triple lock on pensions, not costing their budget, and U-turns aplenty. Also hasn't focused on Brexit at all, which should have been her meal ticket, instead going for personal attacks on Corbyn, something which leads some people to believe that the opposition have no options to go against his policies. I still expect a Conservative majority, but it won't be because of the campaign. The youngsters will only be a minority, so it would be best if she hasn't upset too many pensioners or soon-to-be pensioners with the taking out of the triple lock. Personally, if I were a Conservative, I would be let down, but you will probably be celebrating.
How wrong was I?
Well, not about everything.
No, not about everything.
It was the most
50-50.
awful campaign I've ever known.
When you consider, certainly last year when you had the US presidential campaigning and how poor that was, you would have thought in this country we wouldn't stoop to that kind of level where we were doing personal attacks. I don't really recall it ever happening previously, not to this kind of scale. No way,
I think what they did was they rested on their laurels, really. Tories did, obviously
course they
thinking
did.
they had a massive lead, and which they did going into it. I mean, it was only a year ago that the Labour Party were in disarray, really. Like Corbyn,
course they were.
You know, to be honest, I still don't think Corbyn's got the backing of.
No,
of
he
the
hasn't.
Labour Party, you know what I
He
mean?
hasn't, and that's because a lot of them, like a lot of Conservative MPs, are very centrist.
Yeah.
And with the alliances that the Conservatives and Labour have made, they've literally just split the country apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely, it's been the most divisive.
I've never known anything like it. It's unreal.
You said about America. I'm quite into my American politics as well, and it has like very similar feel to it, really. Like you said, the personal attacks and that, because now, you know, I always differentiate between the left and the right. I'm on the right, but really I've got liberal views. You know, I've got quite a lot of liberal views, if you know. But
So you'd be a more David Cameron guy.
no, because I think even Cameron was a bit more left than what I would have liked. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe so, but, you know, he had very liberal views. He was the
Yeah.
man who legalised gay marriage.
Yeah.
If you were to say
Yeah.
to me that it was the Tories who legalised gay marriage, I would have chopped my left hand off.
The funny thing as well, though, I think that's more like the time. It's the time
Yeah.
of when you're in power
Of
and stuff
course.
as well, and you kind of almost like have to go
You
for
bow
it.
to pressure
Of course.
sometimes.
Yeah, you've
Of course.
got
Well, you've
I
got
think-
to appease people, haven't you? And,
Exactly.
But I think, like I was saying about the American thing, is that obviously the left over there are very vocal and protest, you know, happy, and you know they love to protest, they love to riot and all this sort of stuff. And it seems to have happened over here, and it's getting, you know, the whole Grenville fire thing, huge tragedy.
Goodness
But
me.
it has
It's been far too politicised.
It's been absolutely politicised, and like from both sides in a way. But at the moment, it is a case of the Labour, or not the Labour voters, but you know that people have taken advantage of the fact that Labour have lost, and they're saying like they're venting their almost frustration that Labour lost. And aiming it now at the fact that, you know, it's Tories' fault for this fire. Do you know what I mean? Like,
That's a lot. That's media pressure as well, and they're proper going because they've been really right for a long time. I think there's a lot of after the election now. There's a lot of left, like propaganda, if you like.
Yeah.
There's sort of it's all been pushed that way.
Propaganda
back
is
again.
the propaganda is definitely all over the place. You can
Yeah.
tell
Oh, yeah.
that the newspapers have selected their camp, and their camp can do no wrong.
yeah.
Despite the fact that, as I've said many times before, I'm not the biggest fan of Corbyn because he takes it way too far and he's trying to be way too progressive. You can't do that.
Yeah, he's a Marxist. He's far
Well,
too.
and
he's
Theresa
far-
May-
Socialist, isn't he?
And Theresa May has now gone the other way
Yeah.
and gone like she's like Thatcher 2.0, but she couldn't even hold a fucking wick to her.
Yeah,
Nowhere near.
I think.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you want to read the rest of the post
Oh,
before
sorry,
we?
yeah.
Yeah,
can do.
Carry on.
That was only one part.
So that was the analysis of the Conservative campaign before the election.
Yeah, awful.
Yeah, so the Labour Party, with regressives aplenty, Diane Abbott, most people being against him, another budget that isn't costed properly, and a hippie defence policy, Labour should be dead. Hell, I'm saying this as a social libertarian. However, despite the mishaps mentioned, he's still going, and I believe it's for one simple reason: he's just different. There hasn't been proper left-wing politics in 40 years. Don't say Blair was a lefty. His first charge as PM was deregulating the markets, the biggest thing which led to the 2008 financial crash, and people have cottoned onto it. Will it work? No. I think too many people will see him as untrustworthy, and that his free giveaway would backfire when the rich he aims to tax bugger off. He had he been reined in a bit more and not gone full bulk with some of his ideas and been somewhat more centrist, who knows? Won't win, but the Tory landslide might not be as big. Not far off.
Well, that was actually more accurate.
Yeah.
Should we discuss that? Oh, is
If you like, or I can just carry on.
Well, the
Well,
rest
you
of
may
the
as well.
menu-
We may as well talk about the rest.
Yeah.
Let's
Well.
see if I got them right.
Yeah. Lib Dems, because Brexit has been somewhat relegated in this campaign, the Lib Dems have felt a bit lost, seeming their game plan was to get a second referendum. Could still do well if the shy Tories who voted Remain are upset, see Zach Goldsmith last year, and wish to tell the Conservatives to stuff it. But I see it as unlikely. The damage from their power share is all too fresh still. This election has come too early. May gain extra seats, but 12 max. SNP won't do as well as last time, but we'll still have a large majority of seats in Scotland. Sturgeon is a bit crap, to be honest, as she is obsessed with something that will kill her country. Last bit.
Did you say Jimmy Cranky? I think she looks more like Elton John.
No, somebody was said that Elton John, but all right, she's basically Elton
She's
John.
Elton Cranky.
She's Elton John and Cranky. What's her name? Cranky. Is Love Child.
And then you talk about UKIP, but screw UKIP. 28.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What did I say about UKIP?
You said.
I'll tell you what. I think the annoying thing is I do think a lot of UKIP's policies were brilliant. I agree with so many of them, but I just don't. There was no point in ever voting for them because they would never have got. They would never.
We said they didn't even field a candidate.
Oh no, well they didn't even have a candidate. Yeah, so
there was a lot of people who came up to me. I was talking about it in work, but we'll get to that as well. But there were a few people who said, "Well, there was no UKIP, so I chose to vote for no one," which is quite interesting. Okay. There was still a lot of people who quite solidly believe. I think they got 600,000 votes in the end.
Did they?
I think so. They did a lot better than what I thought they would do, but they have no seats.
Yeah. See, yeah, exactly. There's
by the way, Lewis, can we check how many seats Lib Dems got? By the way,
what in total?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said max of 12, and I believe.
Should I get it? It might be easier
Maris,
to get it on
the phone.
Maris go over there.
Well, Maris has got the phone, so.
Yeah. I should probably just get the links up on this instead of...
What was it?
The total number of seats for the Lib Dems. I said max of 12.
I don't think they got, did they?
I think they got 12.
Did they?
I think so.
If you got that right. Hello to everybody that is watching us currently on Facebook Live. We had 4 people just a minute ago. Oh, we got a third.
Oh, fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Simon Bunt, thanks for the comment. Get on me booties. Get on me.
I don't know. Where is it?
I'll probably say at the top if you're on BBC.
I'm on BBC. Lib Dem, 12. Get on.
It's a fix.
Yes.
It's a fix. they were listening to me.
The podcast made a difference.
Yeah, so what do you... So
you weren't far off, really, in some respects.
I honestly thought that the Tories were gonna get it because I thought I didn't. What I expected was that everybody voted UKIP, and I'm assuming you voted UKIP in 2015.
Yeah, I did actually.
You did. I was expecting all 3.6 million
to
go to the Tories. And that's the mistake I think everyone made because a lot of them went to Labour.
Yeah.
None of them would have gone to the Lib Dems, and not so many actually voted for the Tories. I think that's where the thing has happened.
The thing
for me,
what was it? Was there 3 million registered new voters?
I think it was 3 million. There was a lot of new voters.
Yeah, and obviously the majority of them are young.
The young voters came out in force, and fair play to them.
Yeah, but the whole thing with the young voters that sort of. If obviously, I think the vast majority of young voters went to Labour,
undoubtedly.
But how that means that they still must have lost some of the other core voters, Labour. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
If you've added 3 million, say if you've added 2 million, for argument's sake, 2/3 of it.
Yeah.
That should have pushed you up, but you still lost by what was it? 56 seats, was it?
It was 56 seats. It's all about proportional representation and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think there's obviously a lot of people who are like, no, we liked it when they were more centrist and
I didn't like
more leaning towards like the needs of every single person as opposed to separate groups, which is now what we've got in this country.
Yeah. Well, I think I didn't like Corbyn's or Labour's manifesto. Basically, I liked parts of it. There's certain parts I liked, but I'm in no way a socialist at all. Well, I wouldn't say at all, but I'm not.
Yes, but even someone like me who is much more socialist leaning, even I was like, no, it won't work.
It's too radical.
It was. There are things which I like. I mean, in previous podcasts, I mentioned how much I hate privatisation. I think it's the worst thing that's ever happened in this country. So looking at that, I was like, yeah, he'd have my vote, and then he was saying, we're going to do this. Okay, we're going to do this. Okay. How are you going to pay for it? We're going to tax the rich. They're going to bugger off because guess what? The rich, when they have money, they'll just bugger off. This is what happened in Venezuela.
Yeah, of course. Thatcher said, didn't she? the trouble with socialism is you eventually run out of spending. You eventually run out of other people's money.
Of course
and
you
it's
do.
true.
It is true.
And
Yeah.
This was
You've got to get a balance.
With
And
the whole corporation tax and that, it sounds great in an ideal world. All the rich pay for everyone else, but do you know what I mean? A business is not gonna. A business will say, actually, I'll just, like you said, I'll just up sticks and go.
they just
I think it's true that if you do it too much, like you said, they will bugger off. But I think the problem is, and a lot of young people look at it in the sense that when you see big companies like I think it's like Amazon, Google, Apple,
Starbucks.
firms like that,
Yeah.
Starbucks,
and
yeah,
not
all of them,
pay
they-
their fair share of tax.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, like you're paying like £1 million or something like that when they're earning
Billions.
millions and billions out of our country, and you just think, well, come on, that's I think that is the sticking point, and that's kind of the Labour sort of idea, is that's where they've got their votes in a lot of senses, that they've used those examples and pushed on that and used that and making it out that they can.
Pulse there, didn't they?
Of course they have.
They were never going to.
The problem is, I mean, from my point of view, I've always been against just free stuff, if you know what I mean. And that's what everyone was saying. It's free stuff, and it was free stuff.
If you're gonna do the free stuff thing, you got to get the returns back on it.
You have.
I mean, you look at things like welfare state, for example, and the pension, which we all put in. You know, is the government having to try and make free stuff out of that? But no one, not a single person, will say take the state pension away.
Yeah, well, of course.
You know, it doesn't always be the blanket argument of, obviously you've got to put in your own money, but you get way more technically in return.
Yeah.
So it's always a matter of, if you're going to do it, you've got to make sure that you're putting the costs elsewhere, and it's got to be a reasonable expectation. What Corbyn was trying to do was beyond reasonable expectation, which is why a lot of Tory voters said, no, he's a Marxist and all this.
Well, the trouble is that regardless, there's been austerity, and no one likes austerity, effectively.
It's,
do you know what I mean? And
the country's has been in slowdown since about 2008, to be honest.
And they have reduced the deficit. They've upped the debt, but they've reduced the deficit. But,
so there's now more debt on people as opposed to the country.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is that it's...
How's that good?
Well,
How's it good that people have more debt?
Well, no, it's because if you reduce the deficit, you're not paying as much interest on that money that you owe, are you? Because the whole...
Yeah, but it just means that regular people are paying the interest instead of the government.
Yeah, but the deficit really has to come down. You have to reduce the deficit. It's about 2.6.
Silence.
It's about.
Lewis, you've double played us. Come on.
I have.
Why are you double playing us?
I was just trying to get the comments up.
I think the problem is that you've got, from looking at Corbyn's manifesto, all it looked at like doing was undoing what has been, what
the Conservatives have put in over the last...
I wouldn't say the hard work of the Conservatives, because it's been everyone else that's been going without, do you know what I mean, to tighten their belts effectively.
Of course.
But that's it. I think there's a little graph someone put up, and it was almost like it was a little flow chart, and it had Labour getting 5 years later, spend everything. 5 years later, Tories come in. They sort of enforce austerity.
Yeah.
And then after a year to go, everyone goes, "This is shit. We're skint. We ain't got no money, and we don't get anything out of this. We're going to vote in Labour because Labour promised us free stuff." So then Labour get in.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
then
And it swings back
round, and it's just a never-ending circle. I mean, the trouble
This is why Mebby and Kernow could be the future, ladies and gentlemen, because we can't trust the English anymore.
Well,
Well, obviously, that's it's a long talking point. You'd have to, as we've discussed before, if you wanted to do something as radical as that, it's going to take years to.
It's not like
it's not an overnight thing.
Plan, no,
you look at the S&P, it took them years to get to the position where they're at.
Yeah.
And they had a poor night, but they didn't actually lose any votes. You look at the.
Oh, really?
Well, here's the thing. They did
a lot of Tories.
They lost 21 seats.
They lost 21 seats, but as an actual number of voters, they didn't lose very much. What happened was that more people
1.7
were upset with the way that they were running the country, which is why Labour got some seats. And unsurprisingly, as I did say elsewhere, the Conservatives got in seats.
Well, that's I was just about to say that. It's ironic. It's funny, isn't it, when you look at it and you see that Labour Party gained 30 seats, the SNP lost 21 seats, but not very many of those that SNP lost went to the Labour Party.
It's not a surprise because SNP and Labour are fairly similar.
Yeah.
They're certainly more left-leaning both
Yeah.
ways, but one
Right.
strives for independence, which they shouldn't get because they voted for it,
Yeah,
and they
tough
said
tits.
no.
Yeah, but they didn't vote the way Nicola wanted them to.
Well, no, look, Elton Cranky didn't get away, and she's trying to get away again. But the problem with Scottish independence, we'll just brush on this quickly, is that now that they were out of Europe, of Brexit even,
EU.
I'll start again. Now that we're trying to leave the EU, trying, possibly failing, but we'll get to that in a minute. But they want to go back into the EU. It would be a poisonous well for them to do it. I think what the EU have done is they've shown their true colours. They're a bit...
Definitely.
They're very nasty.
Yeah, they are.
They're very...
They're bitter.
Very bitter.
Why is it? What have I missed then? What have I missed that is... Why have they shown their colours? How have they managed that?
So you look at the actions of like Juncker
Yeah.
and Merkel and
Donald Tusk.
and Tusk and maybe to a small hint Macron, assuming he's now come in, and they're all just praising the EU. The EU do nothing wrong, it's not like that at
the
all.
wagons, isn't they? Effectively.
Exactly. The reason why I wanted us to remain was so that if you want to fix it, you got to be part of it. If you're not part of it, it's just going to run to the races, and maybe all of the Eurosceptic fear-mongering which they've been talking about may well happen. I mean, they were talking about like a pan-European army. Now, if Britain was part of the EU, they could always just go, absolutely not, what a ridiculous idea. They could always veto it. Now that they're out of it, it might benefit the EU because they've got a angry ally that's now just decided to bugger off and try and go on its
I
own.
think the thing is, I think that the EU, as an organisation, if you like, had no intention of changing.
No.
I mean, like the whole thing with Cameron going over and trying to get like the most simple of like things changed. You know what I mean? Make a few little tiny requests and like basically they went no.
Yeah,
he came back going, I've got a great deal. What is it? It isn't one.
Bugger all.
Yeah.
But they were nice to me.
But
yeah,
They were
you're
nice
right.
to me.
very weighted balance in favour of themselves.
But the bitterness,
They've
around
certainly-
it, you know, the whole like we want
100 billion
We want
pounds.
40 billion. Oh, actually no, we don't. We want 60. Actually,
Sod it.
we want 100 billion.
And then Philip Hammond quite wisely said, we just wouldn't pay it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bitterness
What
going
did you
on
think of Corbyn's approach at
there. What, to
his
Brexit?
negotiations? In that, because I said
He did the most sensible thing. He kept it vague and nebulous, and he said we got to go with the democratic right. Simple.
no, sorry, I mean with his whole negotiation tactic, because he basically
He
I
came
think
with a more we just give them everything they want kind of
I
vibe.
think he fucked up. Sorry, but I think he messed up big time on that because
Don't worry, I've already said fuck on here as well.
Sorry, what?
no, because I had this. I mentioned this. I think it might be on Facebook or Twitter or something that his stance was basically we want a deal and we're not leaving. Or we're not going to leave unless we get a deal. Well, it's better really to say if we don't get a deal, we're going, and and that's it. Because but the problem is, it's like I said, it's like going and buying a car, and I come and buy your car, and you say, right, I want $5,000 for this car, and I go, I don't really want to pay $5,000, but I'm not leaving without this car. How much will you take for your car? You'll just go $5,000, because I really want that car, and I'm not going to leave without it. Do you know what I mean? And he's basically gone and said, I'm going to go there and go, we really don't want to leave without the best deal, and do you know what I mean? And then all they're going to do is just do the deal that suits them. They're not going to do the deal that suits the UK because they know that the UK are going to accept whatever they give them.
Well, no, not really. Not necessarily, because at the end of the day, it benefits the EU that the UK's would be in it. Not obviously, we're not going to be now.
That's not necessarily
very
unlikely.
But I can't see how us leaving necessarily is benefits the EU because it's just going to suck.
Oh, I don't think it benefits.
No, they're not going to. They're going to play hardball.
Yeah, but what I mean is if you're dealing with someone and you know that they're they are desperate to make a deal, and they're not going to suddenly walk away. If I know, like I said, if I know you're coming to buy my car, and I know that you don't want to leave without my car, I hold the cards because I know that
I've got the car.
I call the shots, so I know that you're. I know it's not as simple as that.
Goodness me, it isn't.
But do you know what I mean? It's an analogy that like.
So what you're saying is the EU has got the two aces at the minute.
Well, they would have if Corbyn was to approach it, because they know that Corbyn wants a deal no matter what. Whereas if they're thinking, hang on a minute, we've got to give them a decent deal, because if not, Theresa May's going to walk off. They're more inclined to obviously try to do something. Aren't they?
It's basically a game of who's got the biggest bollocks and who's going to outlast the pain.
Yeah.
Do you think though that since the election then, how has Theresa May losing those seats and not having a majority? Do you think I think it's definitely weakened her.
It's weakened her position.
Oh yeah, my goodness, massively.
In regards to the EU as well.
Yeah.
But do you think that also works in the country's favour? Because it's clear.
No, 100% not.
No, but in that she was going to be pushing for this hard Brexit,
which I think would have been a bad idea.
Yeah,
personally,
I don't think that the country.
What is a hard Brexit? What's a soft Brexit?
Well, yeah, that's the difficult thing.
So,
No one really knows. They just throw out these terms.
The whole thing with the leave, because I voted to leave, and I voted with the full intention of leaving the single market. The whole bus thing, I never even gave it a second. A lot
of people have said that they don't like the way that the EU was run, hence the reason they wanted to leave.
The whole thing, everyone keeps going. You watch Question Time, and they're in the audience going, "Where's this 350 million?" I swear, to God, that I didn't vote thinking, "Oh, if we leave, they're definitely going to give." That was nothing to me.
Maybe not to you, because obviously you're more politically inclined. But how many people do you think may have fallen for it?
I suppose, but even then, but even then, if they had said, I think on that bus, if they had said, if we leave the EU, we're going to give it, but they said let's fund the EU instead, the NHS instead. Well, it's a suggestion more than anything in my eyes. But
you can't plant that kind of seed, because people will come back to it, and if it goes tits up, then people will go, well, you fucking lied.
Me,
exactly. Yeah. That's why you've got to be very careful when you're campaigning for this kind of thing. Which is why I said the Brexit stuff was disgusting, because the level of argument coming up from both sides was shit. It was terrible. You got people who, let's face it, the country is not the most politically minded. Doesn't matter which way you vote, whether you're far right or communist or liberal or whatever. I don't think people are that much inclined to it.
I think it's changing. I think it's definitely more. People are taking more note. I think with social media, people can see a lot more and see more stories. But the problem is, everyone gets so the problem
drawn into their ideology.
Get drawn in, and they can pick what they want to look at a lot of the time.
Of course,
definitely.
And unless you really take a keen interest, and then you look at a lot of the other sides. It's generally, I mean, I'm interested, but I don't tend to go reading all the articles. I don't read all the manifestos.
No.
I just look at the general
key
thing.
points.
Yeah, I look at a lot of the key points and what is being said, and I draw my sort of analysis from that. So, like,
well, it's a sensible way to approach anything, isn't it?
Yeah,
you without two sides.
Yeah, without trying to be, I mean, you got your sort of your preconceptions in a lot of cases, and sort of your own biases on what you prefer. But I don't know. I just that's how I look at it anyway. But
well, no,
I mean, it's very fair. You should look at everything and give it as good a thought as you can on it. Like I said, if it was the weird idea that the Conservatives actually came up with the best manifesto, I'd be like, gotta vote for them.
Yeah.
There's another thing as well, because with some areas, they will want to go for a different political philosophy because it will work there, but in some areas that same political philosophy won't work. There's a lad who I work with who used to live in Brighton, and obviously Brighton, I can't remember which Brighton it is, but they're run by the Green Party, by Caroline Lucas.
And they got their seat again.
They returned their seat. Hippies. And but you say it, but
no, I know,
it works. It works in Brighton.
Of course it does,
they love the public transport. It works. The recycling is good, and it suits the vibe of Brighton. You try and do that in like Carlisle, they just tell you to fuck off. It's a ridiculous proposition.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I think that's part of the problem. The country is so different in different areas that I don't think a singular party can make it work because the ideas that both of them require are so different
they
to
are,
make
completely.
to make their constituency work.
Well, when like Labour, for instance, are very obviously in the bigger cities. Like you got lots.
All the uni cities.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you got London and Manchester and stuff like that.
Yep.
Labour do well, and
Bristol did very well for Labour as well.
but a lot of Labour. They tend to focus on ethnic minorities and stuff like that as well, and they do get a lot of votes through that. Like the whole Muslim vote is a massive vote, and you're talking several 100,000 in each one. And if you're sort of different groups like that, they do tend to block vote, don't they? They vote the way their families vote and stuff like that. And
yeah,
you know what I mean,
I think it's the same the other way.
You get a lot of in big cities. You have got a lot of working class people, haven't you? And like you said, like, there's a lot of areas that are just going to be Labour through and through, and that's just.
Yeah, but do you think Labour are like the working class party now? I don't think they are like they used to be.
No, with Corbyn, no.
No, I don't think so.
He's way too progressive, which is a big problem because he wants to try and make it super equal for every single race and creed, and it just you can't make it
white middle-aged men. Because if you're a white middle-aged man now, you're the worst.
Exactly.
You're the bottom of the ladder.
That is the problem because obviously he wants to try and make it a fair share for everyone. But it might get to the point where he goes, right, every boardroom needs to have a woman in it. And you just be like, no, it's a meritocracy-based thing. You go for the best person. You don't base it on the fact that you've got
one of the worst things, I think.
It's a dreadful thing. And it's things like that make me go, no, Corbyn needs to be reined in a bit. There needs to be some form of sensibility.
Yeah.
But then do you think he's gone and done all this sort of quite extreme, very extreme views and policies because he needed to do something to try and get those seats back?
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you think if he's still leader of the Labour Party by the next election, do you think he will come more back?
I don't know.
I don't think he will, and that's his problem.
Right.
He won't. He is a man of principle.
He's always been. Yeah, he's a man of principle. I don't agree with his principles as such, but he's a man.
He sticks to his guns.
Yeah. I'm with you.
He is a socialist. I mean, McDonald's self-confessed Marxist, isn't he? So
he is, admittedly.
And the thing is, I can't see him ever changing that sort of approach now. And I think he might have not have had such a radical one if it had been closer. Do you know what I mean? But I think the fact that he sort of
was so far behind.
He threw out these policies thinking, well, hope for the best.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it got to a point where it was like, right, we'll have free tuition for students, and everyone's like, yay, and then it's like, oh, that's worked. Actually, we'll write off like students who have just left as well. We'll write off their debts. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and then
I think he was like, right, some of these Tory ideas are stupid. We need to come up with stuff which is going to get people to actually vote for us.
The Tories didn't even have any ideas, really. I mean,
they did. Hang on, they did. They wanted to bring back fox hunting.
But this is what I mean.
But they needed to put something in the mouth. She just thought she was going to win.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but
they rested on their laurels.
It's simple. They should have just kept it simple, not gone for anything controversial.
Exactly. Totally agree.
What do you think the whole?
And Corbyn coming in like a wrecking ball in some ways.
Yeah,
he did. He turned it up a notch, didn't he, on the thing?
He did.
And you look at how many people went to see him in the streets, and how many people went to see Theresa May in the streets.
I think that's possibly more with the way the Conservatives run their press junkets and things like that. Yeah. They don't want fuss and hassle and. Again,
and regular people walking past and cheering.
Yeah,
Corbyn's on about they're on about he's making a guest appearance at Glastonbury and that, aren't they?
Well,
and it's like it's almost like it's that sort of celebrity sort of thing now, and it annoys me. Someone did say a joke on, I think it was Twitter. They said about obviously they're really worried about terrorism and that happening at Glastonbury because of Corbyn going. But someone said, "Oh, don't worry. If they search him properly, it should be all right."
Hey! That's true. Brilliant.
That is true.
But no. So yeah, I think.
I was going to say, we was talking about certain. You mentioned about the Green Party in Brighton, like certain areas.
Certain
I
areas.
just thought we was going to bring it back, and I thought we should bring it back to Cornwall.
Yes,
and talk
100%.
about the Cornish vote then, and how that and sort of
it's
how
all
that went.
It's all blue again.
It is all blue
Sigh.
again, and I'm
all of
very,
it, yeah.
very
All of it.
disappointed.
Well, it comes as not much of a surprise because if you want to bring up the local council election results,
Yeah,
do you want to do that through the computer? Because you had such
I
a
voted
faff.
Tory.
I've got no. I can get it here.
Well, you must have been. I'm trying to remember the Bodmin results in general. I mean,
I've got.
I think they were all because it wasn't it in Bodmin general. It was all Liberal, was it, or was there?
Oh, sorry, no, I don't know exactly. Yeah.
Was it
I
all
know,
Liberal?
so-
in
Oh,
Bodmin?
I'm
quick,
not sure,
quick
sorry.
shout out then to
Lee Frost. Yeah,
who
Lee
got
Frost.
his seat. Well done,
Yeah,
well
yeah.
done, Frosty.
Yeah, no, beautifully done, Lee. Not a surprise, but you know, to try and take over the mantle with Steve Rogerson.
Yeah,
God bless his soul. Yeah, it's a big challenge for him.
Oh,
Good luck to him. Good luck to him.
yeah.
He's now going to be much more hated. he thought he was hated now, and he is. But you wait. He's going to upset so many people, and it's not even. It might not even be his fault, but he's going to upset so many people.
So anyway, this is now the Cornwall Council elections.
Right, we're all going to close in on the screen.
Um,
Do you want me to say the results as they go? So I'm going to right next to it.
yeah.
So the Conservatives won 46 seats with 35% of the
Yay!
vote. The Liberal Democrats got 37 seats, 30% of the vote.
Yeah.
Yay! Independents got 30, which was 19% of the vote. Labour got 4 seats, which is 7% of the vote.
Boo.
Maybe and Kernow got 4 with 3% of the vote. The Labour and Cooperative Party got a seat.
Well, what did the Christians get?
So,
None of them down there.
no,
And then all the rest got a little
know-
bit of a
I know the
percentage.
stats for this. So, 2015, the Christian Alliance got 55 votes in the general election.
Did they?
In 2017,
8.
ready for this? No.
7.
Can someone give me a drum roll? 180.
Really?
They weren't.
180.
Embarrassingly, they weren't even last.
Oh, really?
Social Labour, whoever the fuck they are, got less than the Christian Alliance. My God, you must be.
Labour. What's that all
I-
about?
I
Surely
don't-
Surely that's like a...
Let's just say, independent candidate didn't do very well. They had to go against Joy Bassett, and
Yeah.
no chance. Lol, you're worse than the Christians. What the fuck is wrong with you? So yes, well done to the Christian Alliance on increasing your vote share by over 200%.
Very good.
You're still shit.
That's a bit unfair. Have you read
That
their
is.
manifesto?
I did their one-page manifesto,
What
which
was
was
it?
it was very much like reading a DUP letter, to be honest. they want to. I think they were mentioning things like trying to get rid of divorce, which is shocking. Trying to get rid of abortion, which again, I'd like the woman to have the choice.
Yeah.
at the
Is
end of
that
the
is
day.
that our equivalent of the Westboro Baptist Church?
No. No, I have not seen a
No,
single
the
Christian
Cornwall
Alliance member.
Christian Alliance are much worse.
I have not seen a I will state now, I have not seen a single Christian Alliance member protesting the war dead and calling them faggots. So I think they're probably not that bad, Lewis.
No. Fair enough.
There's just a difference of opinion in comparison to us three. It's as simple as that. So-
Are we all
okay, so
atheists
what are we?
here, I take it.
So because
You're atheist, aren't you?
Yeah.
I am also
Well,
atheist. Are
Yeah,
you
you're
atheist?
agnostic, aren't you,
To
I
the
presume?
to the point that
I'm atheist.
You
Atheist.
I'm a strong atheist.
I am, but you know what can you say? If it turns out he's there, he's there.
Oh, yes.
I just don't think that he is.
If I turn up to the gates of St. Peter and he's there, I go, oh shit, mate, I've been bad-mouthing your name for the past
Yeah.
like X amount of years.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to get in? Were you a virtuous Christian? No, I told you I was a fucking atheist.
You should know.
Just he'll then just ring his phone and just go, yo, Lucifer, I've got another customer for you. I believe you have his seat waiting.
Okay.
So, based
Before
on the
we-
local council results, I was very pessimistic about a change in anything, and lo and behold, Although there was some very tight results,
How
certainly
many seats? How many
there were
seats
six.
won?
There are
So
6 seats in Cornwall.
Yeah,
you have
for the
you have St Ives, Campbell and Redruth,
North Cornwall.
Truro, Falmouth, St Austell, South East Cornwall, North Cornwall.
Yeah, St Austell and Newquay.
St Austell, Newquay. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's at the general election for the MPs. Obviously, we were just looking at the local council elections, and I think there's 300 seats. No, it's not 300, is it?
It's
nowhere near. It's about 100.
I'm adding up. So 46, 37, 85, 115, 125, 126 if you include Mr. Frost.
Yeah.
So there's 126 seats available on the local council, on the county council even. Sorry. And then lower down again, goodness knows, there'll be several councillor seats available. If you assume 4 wards for every 1 councillor, maybe.
I don't know.
There'll be maybe just an approximate guess.
I almost just can't work it out. It's just too much going on. It's a bit.
Another difference I wanted to point out quickly before we discuss how the Conservatives won down here. Another point which my mate from Brighton had made was the fact that it's very different when you're up in like the rest of the country. They vote on a national basis, whereas in Cornwall, he's noticed you actually vote on a local basis.
Yeah,
you actually vote for the guy who's actually going to look after your constituency, not an overall party feel.
That is the case. The fact is because we're
so isolated.
Just isolated out there.
We are so isolated.
If you think about it, I don't think that's the case. Especially if you look at the North.
You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
All right. Let Lewis explain.
If you look at the North Cornwall results, the Conservative Party won by quite a few. It was like 6,000, I think. Scott Mann won by like 6,000 votes over Dan Rogerson.
Was this election or the previous one?
No, this election. 27.
I thought it was even bigger. I thought he won by like
It might have been more.
8,000.
It might have been more.
I thought it was 8,000.
Yeah, but it might be.
I thought it was more.
What? There is no way that he is a better bloke for the job than Dan. When you can, what has he done? And if anything, the biggest thing, the thing that frustrated me the most.
I think I heard something.
Sorry, I clicked the button. The thing that frustrated me the most was that all those Conservative, he's right, all those Conservative MPs all voted for the Devon Wall constituency, saying that that's what they would want to do. And I think that right there is not a voice for Cornwall whatsoever.
No, of course not.
So how can just based on that, how can anybody say that a Conservative Party member is worth voting for to represent Cornwall for Cornwall when they clearly aren't?
I think me and Matt both have the same response to this. I reckon it's because not that many people are Cornish anymore.
Well, especially not in North Cornwall.
Certainly not in North Cornwall.
Yeah, I think the whole
of Bodmin voted Labour, but.
Or
Lib Dem. Lib Dem. Actually,
more likely.
No, I think a lot of people voted Lib Dem because they wanted Labour in and they didn't want Tories in. You could see it all the time on Facebook. People were saying, "How am I going to? I want Labour to win. How am I going to stop the Tories?" And everyone's going, "Oh, it's tactical voting. Vote for Lib Dem because the Labour won't win." Yeah. It was all over Facebook. It was.
Yeah.
I think
it
I can tell you.
It wasn't enough, was it?
I can tell you another reason why I think the Tories did very well. Remember with the UKIP last year, which areas of the country were the ones who were strongest in wanting to leave? Can you remember, Lewis? I'm sure Matt will be able to tell me.
Strongest to leave?
Yeah, who were most wanting to leave?
What, Cornwall? What do you mean, sorry?
So which areas of the country were most wanting to leave? So the North East?
Yeah, North East. Well, Thingy did, Cornwall.
56%. Yep. And which other areas? There was one country that was surprisingly very much against the EU.
Country.
It's not.
Oh no. Was it Wales?
Oh yeah, Wales. It was all these very poor, deprived areas that have always lived on EU money, but people were like, "No, we want to change," and they were the most aggressive wanting to get out. Now you look at 5 of the constituencies. I think who's in Truro, Falmouth? Can you remember who that is?
What
the female who's
Sarah Newton.
Sarah Newton.
Sarah, innit?
So Sarah Newton, she was the only one who was
name.
Yeah. Yeah. She wanted to remain. The rest of them were strong Brexiteers.
Well, Scott Mann
certainly was.
He made actually a really powerful speech, didn't he?
He was very pro-Brexit, and I think North Cornwall was possibly the biggest area in wanting to leave. Don't quote me on that one, but the majority of Cornwall wanted to leave, and I think a lot of people would have gone, well, no, we want to stick with the guys who actually want to do the Brexit thing. So it came as no real surprise. I knew there would have been a lot of anti-conservative sentiment, I think, but there was always, somewhere like here, there was always a large proportion of people who were definitely wanting to vote Tory. So it actually came as no surprise when they retained all their seats.
Yeah, like I said, I noticed a huge amount of support for Labour on, like I said, on Facebook, on the Bobbin Voice and all this sort of stuff, and everyone constantly going, I'm voting Labour and stuff.
So, do you want to talk about Labour Dave? No. And by Labour Dave, I mean Emma Campbell.
Who?
So, there's someone on Bobbin Voice called Emma Campbell, who my mate does Labour Dave, because she has no ability to change her argument point. She'll say she's so pro Labour it's scary.
Oh.
She does not. She wishes not to alter her viewpoint.
There was one thing I was surprised about.
To be honest, a lot of people are very tribal about it, aren't they?
Oh God, yeah.
I think I was very surprised about, and I think this is a lot to do with the social media stuff and whatever. But well, you look at St Austell and Newquay. I voted Lib Dem, and that's my constituency, to try and do my best to stop the Tory.
Steve Double.
Yes, trying to stop him getting the seat. But it turns out that Labour got more votes than Lib Dem in my constituency.
Oh yeah, Stephen Gilbert is dead in the water as such.
But before 2015, he was the MP.
Yeah.
He was just sort of, I don't know what happened there.
It stems to an incident when Nick Clegg was down in Cornwall, and he was doing his little tour, and it was all to do with the St Dennis incinerator.
Oh yeah.
And they wanted his position on what they were going to do with the incinerator, and he says, we have no position on it. And then from that point on, I think voters knew, it was like, what, you have no position on the most important thing that's affecting this entire area.
Yeah.
And it pretty much showed, maybe not correctly, but it showed Stephen Gilbert as a man who probably didn't care for the constituency, and that was it. Yeah. Bye-bye, and his support was absolutely depleted.
No, clearly. But then you look at St Ives, and we looked at this before, St Ives, considering Penzance and all that, there was a 300 vote difference between the Conservative winning and the Liberal Democrats. Yeah, 300
very
votes.
Close. Very close. Votes. It was like, as soon as I saw that, I knew that the rest of the Cornwall was going blue. It was as simple as that.
Yeah,
that was the closest seat last time.
We brought that up.
I had to go into work with 1 hour's sleep. I was
going to stay up.
I'd gone into work. I'd had an hour's sleep. Everyone could see that I looked pretty tired, and they said, "Don't worry, we know you get your work done." So I'll go in. They then get me to deal with some customers. I'm like, all right, this could be fun. And I saw this very angry lady. Very angry lady. So
was it V? Was it?
It was not your mother-in-law, no. So I sit down. I go, "Hello, do you want a hand?" And she goes, "No, I don't." I was like, "Okay. What did you think of everything that happened last night?" "Oh, it's an absolute disgrace. I can't trust the country, and people shouldn't be allowed to vote." Oh, it gets better. Do you want to know her chief reason as to why Theresa May is the best person to run this country?
Well, yeah, go on.
She's a vicar's daughter.
Oh, really? Oh,
That's it. And we need to return to grammar schools. No, we don't.
No.
She was clearly a fan of this, bringing the country back to the 50s ethic, which I think the Conservatives were trying to bring about. I was actually asking my mother about grammar schools, and she says, "No, they're absolutely disgusting. I'm so glad they're not returning."
Yeah.
Because she came from a time when, if you were quite smart in primary school, you would go to a grammar school.
Yeah, you'd get.
Whereas if you weren't seen as gifted, you'd be sent to a comprehensive.
Yeah, but I'm to be honest, I'm quite in favour of grammar schools.
No.
Yeah, but why?
You if it was your kid and they were sent to a comprehensive where the standard of education was not the same, you'd be up in arms.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's
No, you can't have separate standards of education. It needs to be the same across the board.
Well, no, because I think that with some children are academic.
Oh yeah,
And some aren't.
Yeah.
And I think.
but we already have a system in place where, if there are differing levels of skill in terms of their English, maths, and their science, they're already separated in that kind of sense. So those who are possibly less gifted and needs to be looked at in a different way, they've already got that. We don't need an entire separate school system where at the age of 11 you've already been separated. That's absolutely
It's a bit
disgusting.
unfair as well, making it at 11.
Yeah, of course. But that's how it used to be.
It's a bit young, isn't it? How can you tell that? How can you can't... Can you really tell if you're good at maths by the age of 11? Really?
Yeah, I think
With some aspects you can, but
That's what I mean.
but-
I think.
I think it's how a child is educated. Some kids are way better with a different style of education.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but what I don't get me wrong. I don't mean have grammar schools that all the best teachers are there teaching, and like I said, these are.
but that's what they were proposing.
Yeah, but but I'm not saying and then send the ones who aren't very academic to normal comprehensives
work
with
camp.
shit teachers. I'm talking about obviously you have the best teachers you can in that one, and with the grammar schools they focus on certain things that are suitable for those children. Do you know what I mean? I don't like to say I don't like to say more intelligent.
Forgot about that one, didn't you?
Because I was never an academically gifted child, but
It's about finding your focus point at a particular age, and I think separating kids at that, they could be a very smart kid, but they may be like, no, I want to be a builder. That's what I want to do.
I think 11's too young to start separating children off at that age. I think maybe like when you start getting into teenage years, when you kind of might have an idea of where you want to go and what you want to do, then maybe.
Even then, but
I wouldn't be against the idea of having. I think this might be kind of what you're trying to say. Maybe is that have like a school that's more focused on academics and a school that's more focused on practical skills, like maybe like engineering.
But why can you have that in the same school? Though?
Well,
why do you need?
I'm not saying you
again,
can,
the trouble
but
is if
I'm
you-
not against that idea. But I'm definitely against the idea of just separating children into a good
Yeah, but if you
school
have it
and
in
a
the same
not
school,
so good
what's,
school.
What's the difference? I don't see what the difference is if you have it in the same school, but you have them in separate groups, if you like, or separate classes.
But that's what it already is.
Yeah, but
That's
what's
what
the
that's what we
difference
got
then?
now.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
But
What's the difference in sending some sort of
you're
different-
creating a bit of a class system when you do that.
Well, yeah,
that's how it was back in the day. It used to be a class
You are-
system.
yeah,
but
you
I know,
are
I
class
know,
system.
but the way I look at things is, I don't. This sounds harsh. It probably sounds harsh, and I don't mean it to sound harsh, but some people just aren't equal.
Of course they're not equal.
in that way. And
Of course they're not
what-
equal.
Yeah, but this is
But
what people strive for is they go, this isn't fair. You're taking away like kids that are potentially very bright or potentially because some, don't get me wrong, some kids are very almost advanced, if you like, for their years.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with their parents thinking, yeah, I want him to go to that school because he's obviously showing some kind of like almost brilliance, if you like, as opposed to
But then
or
if they
Barry
also,
across the road who just hits his head against the wall
Wow.
and plays football.
would you not be? Would you not be disappointed though if you've got a child that's like is good at school and they do quite but they didn't quite get a good enough grade, or they were just shy of that mark to get into the space for the school, and you're just like,
yeah, of course you'd be disappointed, but
But-
that's tough. That's like saying I'm a bit distant. Yeah, but that's like
but by then you're already the amount of pressure on children to get a decent GCSE result is ridiculous enough. What you'd end up putting so much pressure on 10-year-olds to get a decent grade just to get into a different school.
They're certainly not ready for that kind of
I think
level
that's-
pressure.
I
I
think
think
that's
if you want a radical educational reform,
But I'd upset
if you want a radical educational reform, then you need to change the education system full stop. You need to make it, if you want to make it tougher on kids so that you can actually separate them that way, maybe so, but you don't want to create separate levels. If you want to make it tougher, you've got to make it tougher across the whole board.
I'm not talking about making it tougher as such.
I think you might have to. If you look at the standard of educational levels now, we're starting to slide behind. I think we were possibly even lower in like basic language understanding than Poland. Now, when you're getting an educational standard that is lower than, and this is no disrespect to the Polish, you know, they generally work hard. They obviously want the best for themselves, but when your language and literacy is lower than a country that has always been generally lower down the totem pole than you've got to change the system.
Yeah,
but trying to bring in something like grammar schools and separating kids, you can't do that. You need to improve the educational standard overall.
Do you think a lot of it could be to do with the whole way the country's become multicultural and
No, I don't think it's multiculturalism at all. I think it's just.
I think it's literally standard of teaching.
I don't think it's even standard of teaching. I think it's resources which they have to be able to do their job. Maybe kids may need to stay in school for a little bit longer.
I think it's more focus on what they're teaching.
Yeah, it could be. I think the issues
is
is
the
there.
way and the way it's been delivered. If you look at one thing, you look at education, and you think everything else in our world has changed drastically in the last 100 years. Since 1900 roughly to now, everything has drastically changed. What's the one thing that has pretty much stayed exactly the same? School. You've just got you've got 30 kids in a class. You've got a teacher up there with a whiteboard. Okay, it's interactive whiteboards now instead of a blackboard with chalk.
Yeah,
but the principle is still exactly the same.
Yeah, but this is sometimes I think about like the whole you say about grammar schools and that, like there may be 5 kids in that classroom who aren't benefiting from that style of teaching. Do you know what I mean? Like it's because like a lot of teachers will tell you that some kids that they teach, they notice they aren't very good at learning.
I think there is.
From this sort of stuff, do you know what I mean?
I think there is one difference which we can probably remark on, and that's probably more to do with the fact that. And this is going to sound controversial. Sorry, people. I think it's because you've got more female teachers, and they're now leading to a more female style of teaching, which is more group exercises as opposed to
more social, like,
as opposed to individual tasking.
I think it's the what it is. It's so factually based. If you go to an exam, you've got to do the. You almost need to know the facts and just write down the facts.
As opposed to understanding the facts.
There's a thing they're trying in one of those like Finland or Sweden, one of them, and I think it's at
probably
like
Sweden.
At college level. Like they are like the leading country for
Sweden.
Academics.
It probably is Sweden. Sweden's very.
They were doing a thing where they're trialing a thing where, say for example, you're studying World War II. Instead of just looking at World War II in 1933 Hitler came to power or whatever, if that was the right year, I'm pretty sure it was. And it's roughly like that. And then in each year this happened, at each stage then this happened, and then this battle happened, and then that moved it like that. What they do is they look at the whole thing all together and kind of try and fit in the social aspects of it as well as the timeline. Not just the facts
and
that is there. Yeah,
that sounds like a much stronger way of doing it.
You're actually learning what's happened.
Yeah,
not just
understand. You're not just
reciting facts.
Yeah, you're not just echoing what it says in a
the teacher says yes, you say yes. You know what I mean? Or
Well, no, exactly. So,
do you think that some of the problem could be to do with? I know it's not sort of going off topic really because we're on the same topic, but I think a lot of things. Like
education's a bit off topic, but
smartphones and stuff like that. And what I mean is like the whole social media. Everyone is obsessed with social media. Do you think that kids nowadays just can't be asked with?
I don't know whether
don't get me wrong. I used to enjoy going to school and having a kick around my mates and stuff like that. But there was never that distraction that there is now.
No,
do
you think it might be?
Imagine what a playground is now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh my god,
I can't imagine. I mean, obviously we had a few mobiles, but we
We had one computer in a class, and that was it.
We had a phone, but it was have you played? I got this far on Snake. Yeah, and I got. and you're listening
is
to
what
the
I mean.
ringtones.
Imagine-
The
Well,
Nokia
I managed
3210
to get,
boys.
I
You
managed
have
to
to
get
go for-
Linkin Park song in my mono
Yeah, you
ringtone.
only have to go for a meal now or something like that, and you see like families out and their kids are just sat on their phones, and
Yeah.
their parents are sat on their phones. And
I think it's a communication thing.
yeah, but
They,
like,
they obviously need to be communicated in a completely different way because they're just glued to their phone.
yeah, but this is what I mean. Do
Can
you
not be
think that
taught
like?
by the computer though to have like the lesson?
Well, a lot of
and
them
then
do
have a-
use
No,
iPads.
they
and
must
that,
do
don't they?
now.
What do you mean?
They've
Yeah, they
got
have-
to adopt it. There's got to be a change. There's got to be a change, I think. But I don't think grammar schools are necessarily the right way.
Grammar schools are.
I think
are-
you'd increase
for me,
the
they're
cost
not.
of schooling as well, though, wouldn't you? Surely.
What, by having grammar schools?
Well, you've got to have two separate lots of buildings and
Well,
And how are you going to pay for it?
two head teachers instead of one.
just tax the rich.
You'd probably have to pay for
God.
it. If your kid got into grammar school, you'd probably have to pay a small fee or something. It's like private, but
Oh yeah,
well,
and
cheap,
it would
cheap
literally be
private school.
wouldn't it?
Yes, yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway,
I think we can all agree that the standards need to.
Standards definitely need
standards
changing,
need
but
to
how
be-
you go about it, I don't know.
no.
I dare say
You've
I
got-
think the Conservatives would actually probably do a much better job if you need to do educational reform, because I
Well-
think they would be way more tough.
Yeah, this
And
is
I
the thing.
do think that's something that might need to change.
Right, so that's the end of part 1 of Make Cornwall Great Again. I hope you enjoyed it. The second part will be out shortly, so look out for that. If you was getting well into the conversation, I've cut it off like at the wrong time, but it's the way it kind of made sense. It was like the end of the topic, and the next episode just goes on again onto all sorts of other stuff. So yeah, please come back and check that out. Alrighty, all the best everyone. Cheers, me dears.